speaking of secrets, the secret to happiness, would you like to know what it is? Low expectations. And here's why. So I'll give you an example. Mr. Ellis walked in this morning and he says, you got a really high bar to meet because your wife is awesome, and I'm paraphrasing. And I said, yeah. Now I know that he's going to be disappointed in me because he has high expectations. Think about it. The last time you went to a movie, if you walked in and you thought, this movie's going to kind of suck, and then it was okay, you're like happy, right? But if you walked in, like anytime you go to watch what it's called, the sequel to a good movie, what always happens? It sucks. Yeah, any of the even-numbered movies suck. And then you're disappointed. You're no longer happy. So the secret to happiness, and by the way, also long marriage, is low expectations. Now, I am going to tell you the secret to public speaking. How many of you are afraid of public speaking? Oh, come on. Be truthful, right? Most of you. Here's what you need to know about public speaking. You've probably heard this piece of advice before. Picture your audience naked. Is that good advice? No. Either if they're attractive, it could be a problem, right? If they are repellent, it could be a problem. Either way, you're not going to be thinking clearly, and clear speaking requires clear thinking. So, I'm going to give you a piece of advice that will always improve the clarity of your thinking. It's a two-step process. Step number 1, go to the bathroom. Nobody thinks clearly on a full bladder, so go to the bathroom. Number 2, make sure you've got your pants zipped after you've gone to the bathroom. Now I'm going to step over here behind and check, because now okay, there we go, we're good. Make sure you've got your pants zipped. You'd be amazed at how much more confident you will be if you'll just do these 2 things. Would you like to hear the secret to success?
Of course, yeah.
Of course you would. Now here you go. Figure out how score is kept and play the game accordingly. Figure out how score is kept and play the game accordingly. Now we'll use a real simple example here. What is the only thing in baseball that gets you a point awarded?
Touching home plate.
Yeah, you've got to go across that home plate. You've got to get a run, right? Does that make sense? Okay, so when I was a little kid, my family's not really sports oriented, but they thought that I was awkward and needed help, so they threw me into this baseball team. And I was great at getting walked. I was also great at getting hit by the ball, but I didn't mind because I got on base, right? Now, so got on base, and then I get to second base, and then the third out, and I'm like, hey coach, how many points did I get? He says, you didn't get squat. Because that's how we talked in the 70s. He says, you didn't get squat. And I'm like, what? He's like, no, you got to get a run. I'm like, what's that? And he explained to me about the run and how it all worked. And then that's how, after that, what am I going to be focused on trying to accomplish? I'm going to be focused on trying to accomplish that thing. Wherever you go, you need to figure out how score is kept and play that game accordingly. So, for example, here at the College of Business, score is kept for professors in peer-reviewed journal articles. And you got to have 6 of those to get to tenure, and you got to have 6 more to get full professor and that sort of thing. And the other thing is we have to get 3 of those in any rolling 6-year window to maintain our faculty qualification. And the punishment, if I don't, is that I have to teach extra classes. Do you think I want to teach extra classes? No. Now, I've actually kind of screwed up, because in 2025, I will have 5 of these things. Now, that's going to keep me clean until 2030. But after that, then I'm going to, and by the way, all those are going to go away, right? I would have been so much better off to have tried to spread those out 1 every other year. And that way I would have always kept my 3 in the rolling 6-year window. So figure out how score is kept and play the game accordingly. Now, how many of you would like to know the secret to high self-esteem? I've got it. You've already got it. Man, they'll wear shorts in this weather. Okay, so here is the secret to high self-esteem. compare yourself to losers. Now, that's a little crass, but here we go. Let's think about it this way. What if I were to compare myself to someone that we can usually all agree is a winner? I will never be as rich, as talented, or as pretty as Taylor Swift. It's just not going to happen, right? And so I could go through my whole life feeling bad because I was not as rich, talented, or pretty as Taylor Swift and be a miserable human being. Don't be like that. Instead, in fact, there's an entire book written on this topic called Choosing the Right Pond. And it's, like about being a big duck in a little puddle, that sort of thing. That's by a guy named Robert Frank. And we actually have this in the library. I looked this morning. Oh, for shame, he's a little late. So, this book is all about that. Now, so what group should you be comparing yourself to? Well, let's think about my high school class. If I compare myself to the people I graduated high school with, I'm probably one of the most successful people from my high school class. Now, I don't tell you that it was a small group of people, right? But I can feel good for comparing myself to them. Another thing, so people don't realize this, but as far as research goes, there are these different levels of universities. And so you've got the University of Chicago, which is really high up there. And then you'll have, University of Missouri. And then here's Missouri State University. And then there are people on down below there. At Missouri State University, I'm a fairly good researcher. And I can feel good about that. If I were at Mizzou, I would be tail end Charlie. And I would constantly be the biggest loser in the department. Does that make sense? And so find a group of people that you're happy being around and that you can compare yourself favorably. And that will lead to higher self-esteem. Any questions? Let's talk about the secrets to job interviews. In fact, I'm going to tell you 2 secrets. Number 1, the job interview is not about what the company can do for you. It's about what you can do for the company. What's the goal of financial management? Maximize shareholder wealth. I'm a manager at Halliburton at the time, and I'm actually in the management program. I'm interviewing a guy that I actually went to undergrad with. He stuck around to get a master's degree. I did not. And so now he's interviewing for this program. And I said, so what makes you interested in Halliburton? And this guy who looked kind of like me, only like better looking, but he's a white dude. And he says, well, I see you have operations in West Africa. I said, yeah. He said, would it be possible for me to end up in West Africa? I said, yeah. I said, we've already sent at least one person out of our program to Nigeria. And I said, we can send people to Angola too. I said, that's great. I said, what do you want? Just curious, why do you want to go to West Africa? He says, I want to be a missionary. I said, that's great. Now, do you think Halliburton was interested in sending this guy to Africa for him to become a missionary? No. If I'm sending you to West Africa, I'm sending you there to maximize shareholder wealth. Right? Does that make sense? So it's not about what the company can do for you. It's about what you can do for the company. Now, the second thing that I'm going to tell you is that an interview is a 2-way street. A lot of times students think that it's just all about the company finding out about me, but I also want to be finding out about them. And so ask questions and listen carefully to the answers. And here's the most important thing. Have your asshole radar on and the sensitivity turned to high. Because unless you are starving to death, dead broke, it's better to be unemployed than to work with assholes. I spent 15 months with a company one time because I ignored that radar, and I was absolutely right. My radar was absolutely right. In other words, we'll say trust your gut, right? If you think these people are a bunch of jerks, they probably are.